So tonight, I'm bringing you my third draft crush for the San Francisco 49ers, and this time, it actually fills a real need, What's up, everybody? Welcome in Seth Floyd Show. I'm your host, Seth Floyd Hansen. It's been about a week since we've done a video. Guys, it's tax season, and your boy is a tax accountant. If you need help with taxes, hit me up. I can help you no matter where you live. Comment on the video, whatever, I'll help you up. Shout out tax firm where I work. So I've been real busy. I work late nights. I work Saturdays right now. And anyway, that's why I haven't done a video in about a week, but I'm trying to get after it now. Guys, when I hit record on this video, we're at 367 subscribers. Thank you so much. Okay, if you're new here, please subscribe, like the video. Help me get to my goal of 500 subscribers by football season. And yeah, I appreciate it. So my third draft crush, my first two, the videos I did for the 49ers were Cam Skattebo. Okay, love Cam Skattebo. I think he's a dog. We talked about it. My second one was Tetairoa McMillan. T-Mac, he is not going to be a 49er. He won't. Cam Skattebo, maybe, if Kyle Shanahan loves him, take him in the third round. I don't know. Tet McMillan won't be. And this guy that I'm going to talk about tonight, I think has a real good chance to be a 49er. But it's gotten a little complicated. My draft crush tonight is Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall. Okay, he's had a pretty interesting story. Okay, he was recruited as a wide receiver, okay, to the University of Virginia back in 2021. Eventually made the switch to be an edge rusher. Now he had some off the field issues, which we'll get to, that led to him transferring out from Virginia to Marshall University, which is in the great state of West Virginia, where he balled. Okay, now his first year as a pass rusher, he wasn't a full-time starter. I think he had 4.5 sacks 2 years ago, but then he blew up this year as a full-time starter, led the FBS in sacks at 17. Now, what are the things I really like about Mike Green? And then we'll get into some of the questions about him first. What I really like about him is he's a good athlete. Recruited as a wide receiver out of high school. He's a good athlete, and that athleticism shows on the film. He's got really good bend. I've heard some people talk about him like a Von Miller, which of course we always do these dumb, comparisons or whatever. But he's got good bend, which is, you want that, desperately want that in your pass rushers. Good bend, good athleticism. He's 6'4", that's good height. He's got some length, which is a good thing. Again, former wide receiver, so it makes sense. He's got some height. His production was great. One of my favorite things, all these guys that I talk to you about as my draft crushes, they are high productivity guys. They're not just trait guys. Okay, unless it's like a day 3 pick, I'm not in love with trait guys. I'm in love with guys that produce at a high level now. So that's Tet McMillan, Cam Skattebo, and Mike Green. Now, you could say for Mike Green, like, he only did it one season. That's true. That's very true. But that one season where he got to start, he blew up. So you could argue, man, he should have been starting before that. I don't know. I haven't dug into the tape like some of you draft junkies have. I'm going off of some of the stuff I've seen. Okay, high motor guy, really high motor guy. Oh, let's back up a quick second. When we were talking about production, not only did he have 17 sacks, he had 23 tackles for loss. Okay, which leads me to high motor guy. When you watch his film, he is on the move constantly. He doesn't give up on plays. 49er fans, you guys still have PTSD. Less PTSD because we won the game. But in the NFC Championship game, when the defense was playing bad and we saw Chase Young just like stop running, stop chasing, not living up to his name on some of those plays against the Lions 2 years ago. Like, he just quit and just gave up. That is not Mike Green. You watch Mike Green and he is balls to the wall, getting after it every play. Now, it's not perfect every play. He's still fairly raw. I think that's what makes me excited. He went from receiver to an edge rusher. He's been an edge rusher for 2 years, and he led the FBS in sacks. So he definitely can he's only going to go up from here, I would imagine, okay? But high motor guy, chasing guys down behind the line of scrimmage, a very willing tackler, sticks his nose in there. I mean, you have to be if you're playing on the line, but you get my point. Sticks his nose in there, takes on blocks. Like, he does a lot of those things really good. Now, what are some of the negatives about Mike Green? We know the off-the-field stuff. The off-the-field stuff is a question. Okay, he had a sexual assault, sexual harassment. I'm not sure. I can't remember think it was harassment, which is like, they're both terrible, but like the lower one in high school, and then again at Virginia. That is what caused him to leave Virginia and transfer to Marshall. Now, there's been reports that like his agent has come out and cleared stuff up, like he has been, that part of his life is far behind him. He has been refocused, like, oh, sorry, I should probably mess with the mic. I don't know. Like, how do you know? Of course, that's what the agent's gonna say. How do you know? But I don't think he's had any issues in the last couple of years, and you're only gonna really get a feel for it if you talk to the guy, and even then you just don't know. So it's a risk. That's a big red flag, because if he's gonna get busted for something like that, if he's gonna do something stupid and make really, really poor decisions as a human being, then you can't risk that, because he won't even be on the team. He won't be able to play, like the Alden Smith situation, okay? Just had real problems with that. So that's a red flag. I don't know if that takes him off the board, 49ers draft board. I don't know, it might. But it might not. And it might play to your favor, because I think, everyone saw him at the Senior Bowl. That's another one I skipped. This is why I should have a paper in front of me, guys. He blew up at the Senior Bowl. Just steamrolling, guys. Fast, quick, strong. He had a play, I think it was against Will Campbell. It was either Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks, but I think it was Will Campbell, like steamrolled him, made him look silly at the Senior Bowl practice one-on-ones. His stock rose during one-on-ones during the Senior Bowl than arguably any other player. So everyone was like, dude, the dude's going to be like a top 10 lock pick. Could be top 15 if he slips up a little bit. And now you're getting people like, man, that off the field stuff is going to cause him to drop. Could he drop into the 20s? Some people are even suggesting, when the report first came out, does he slip into the second round? I think that's crazy. I don't think he's slipping into the second round. But maybe he drops, and maybe you can trade back and still get him. I don't know. But just something to think about. He's going to be one of the more interesting, what's the word? Important keys to the draft this year, to see where he falls. Another knock on him is he's only 248 pounds, at least when he measured last. That's what everyone says, he's 248 pounds. So for him to really be what the 49ers would need him to be, he needs to put on some weight, which he can. I'm sure he can. 6'4", like he's got the frame to put on some weight. How much weight? I don't know. You don't want him to lose too much speed, but he's got to be big enough to take on blocks and play in the run game, which I saw plenty of plays where he's taken on blocks. He's taken on pullers and stonewalling them in the hole. Like they're trying to kick him out and he doesn't get kicked out. Now, that leads me to my last kind of negative. He played at Marshall. The competition isn't great at Marshall. Okay, you're playing in the Sun Belt when you play at Marshall. So what is his production against really good teams? They played Virginia Tech this year. I know he had at least a sack in the Virginia Tech game, and he caused a lot of havoc in that game. If you watch at least his highlights, I didn't watch the raw game tape. I just was watching highlights of him against Virginia Tech, and he's very impactful. Very impactful. I mean, more often than not, he's a little Nick Bosa-y in that game, where he causes tons of pressure, tons of havoc. Quarterback gets out and throws it away or whatever and doesn't find the sack. But he's causing problems all over the field. But my goodness, 17 sacks. And this is why I don't care that much that he played for Marshall, because if Mike Green was getting all this buzz and he had 12 sacks, 11 sacks, but they're like, man, look at this guy, he's a monster, I'd be like, okay, but played at Marshall. What is he in the SEC or the Big Ten? Is that 6 sacks instead of 11? Is that 6 or 7 sacks? Less impressive. This dude had 17 in the Sun Belt. 17. So I got to feel if he gets 13 games started, which is what he did at Marshall, if he starts 13 games for an SEC team or a Big Ten team, I would assume he's at least in the 10, 11 sack range. Okay. At least. It could be more, okay? And last thing I'll say about that, when you watch his sacks, I mean, everyone lucks into some of their sacks. I mean, look at Leonard Floyd from last year for the 49ers. Dude had 9.5 sacks or something, but man, it felt like 5 of them he kind of lucked into, where he wasn't really beating his man, but the quarterback rolled his way for some reason, and he kind of just was able to get a sack on him. It felt like it happened, and so stats can be misleading. But when you look at Mike Green, look at his sacks, his sacks are like high motor plays. He either beats the guy on the first step or he just keeps fighting. He keeps fighting. Man, I really like watching him play. I just think he's a good freaking football player, man. And something the 49ers could use on their team. Just how I feel. So what does that mean for the 49ers in the draft? Well, ideally, like in a best case realistic scenario, because best case scenario is he goes undrafted and you sign him, right? Is that the best case scenario? Let's say best case realistic scenario, like the 49ers want to trade down. I promise you that. I promise you their hope is they can trade down, assuming nothing weird happens where like a Mason Graham doesn't fall to them, or like, I don't know, I've said this before, maybe Abdul Carter has a weed smoking gas mask video like Laramie Tunsil, and all of a sudden he's sitting in your lap at 11 because teams are scared. That's not going to happen. I don't think Mason Graham's going to fall. And so if neither of those two things happen, I think they're trying to trade down. In fact, I would bet my life savings, which isn't that much at the moment right now, on him, that the 49ers and John Lynch wanting to trade back and accumulate another third rounder or a second rounder if they can get it. That's what they want. So ideally, realistic-ish scenario for the 49ers, best case would be trade back. I mean, you're picking at 11. Can you trade? The team that always comes to my mind is the Broncos at 20. I know Shaq Numbs, you don't think you're going to trade up. I don't know. You guys need a running back. So Ashton Jeanty, if he's there at 11, feels like real possibility you're going to try to trade up. Whatever. Can you trade back to around 20? Somewhere in there, okay? And still get a Mike Green? That would be incredible. Could you take Mike Green at 11? Yeah, you could. I wouldn't blame them for taking Mike Green at 11. In fact, the only reason I think you wouldn't take him at 11 right now is because of his off-the-field concerns. Unless they've pinpointed something in his game that they just feel like, yeah, he's just not going to translate for our defense or whatever, which I don't know. No one's really pointed that out yet. Maybe you don't think he's a good enough run defender. I don't know. But he's playing on the edge, so you're probably not super worried. Regardless, you could take him at 11. Now, the draft is funny because at 11, if you pick at 11, like, you've got to get a dude who is a stud and plays right away. The higher floor pick at 11 would be going like Walter Nolan, who should be there at 11. No, his upside is not like Mason Graham's. His upside is not Mike Green, even though they play different positions. But Walter Nolan is the one everyone's talking about for the 49ers. Like, just feels like you can draft him and play him right away as a 3-tech. And good night, you need a 3-tech, 49ers. You're all in on this, no free agents, just drafting guys. So yeah, it makes sense. If you take Walter Nolan at 11, great. I think what sucks about that is in any other draft, like in a normal, more top-heavy draft, like this draft is a lot of depth in the second and third rounds, but not very top-heavy. In a more top-heavy draft, like you're not taking Walter Nolan at 11. He's probably back of the first round, maybe early second round. But because it's just not a very top-heavy draft, like Walter Nolan's in play. And that's fine. If he comes in and he plays right away and he's better than whoever he's starting over, like if he just plays and is solid and shows flashes as a rookie, like great. At 11, great. I'm off the difference maker train a little bit. I know I did a video earlier where like at 11 you have to get a generational talent like a Tyler Warren, an Ashton Jeanty, a Tet McMillan kind of guy. And I think I've softened on that position a little bit because the truth is, like, those things are great. The truth is, though, you freaking need a guy that can make your team better from day one. And while Tyler Warren, maybe not Ashton Jeanty, Tet McMillan, like those guys would make your team better on day one, you could argue Walter Nolan would elevate your team even more than those guys because it's such a position of need. So regardless, Walter Nolan would be a safer pick at 11 in my opinion, but man, Mike Green could be like the best. He's like the best pure pass rusher in this class. At least that's like, unless there's someone that comes later, Princely, can't say his last name, from Ole Miss, like Walter Nolan teammate, like he could be really good, but you wouldn't need to take him till later, but had 10 sacks in the SEC, great. Mike Green could be fantastic. In fact, there's a lot of people talking about how the Niners need Jalen Walker. Guys, I'm so anti the Jalen Walker pick because of this. Is it Jalen Walker or Javon Walker? Josh, fix it. Javon or Jalen? I cannot remember. Now that I'm like second guessing myself. Walker, the guy from Georgia, okay, who plays inside backer and also rushes the passer. Guys, Do you know how many times the 49ers have done this stupid tweener picks? Solomon Thomas, okay, where you're just like, man, he's not like, we're not really sure what he is, but he's like a good football player. We're just going to draft him. Like, guys, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. I hope if they take him, I hope I'm wrong, okay? But like, are you drafting him as a pass rusher? Because he doesn't look all that impressive to me as a pass rusher. Like, he had some good plays, but he doesn't have a lot of pass rushing moves. I liked him more as a middle backer, I think. I don't know. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. But good night. I'd rather, at 11, don't take the tweener and just be like, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. I hope I'm wrong if they take him. Maybe Saleh has a plan for him. I would rather you take a Mike Green. Heck, this would be a little high, but I don't care. I would rather you take Jihad Campbell, the middle linebacker from Alabama, over Walker, because I want a guy who knows what he plays and he's just really good at that position and not just this tweener, like back and forth stuff. I don't like that. Those guys scare me. Maybe it's Solomon Thomas. I know we've done it with other guys too, like Tank Carradine. If you guys remember that, I mean, he wasn't like a real high pick, but like Tank Carradine was kind of a tweener, didn't really know what he was supposed to be in that freaking sect. So I say all that to say this. You could take Mike Green at 11 and it could be incredible, because if he's going to be the pass rusher that he looks like he could be, okay, you won't regret taking him at 11, okay? And pair him with Nick Bosa. That's the other thing. Like, I would be more nervous to draft Mike Green at 11 if you were a team that didn't have another pass rusher and he was supposed to be the main guy. The biggest benefit that you would get from drafting Mike Green is he gets to rush the passer on the opposite end of Nick Bosa, which means they're going to pay more attention to Nick Bosa, at least at the very beginning. Okay, he's going to have a lot of one-on-ones with the tackle. Okay, he's going to have less chips from tight ends, less chips from the running backs, less attention on him, and we have a chance to develop even more and just wreak havoc. Could be great. Could be fantastic. Like, if I was Mike Green, that's where I'd want to go. I'd be like, you're going to let me rush the opposite of Nick Bosa? That'd be incredible. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. I really like him. If the 49ers say he's off the board because of his character issues, off the field stuff, I don't blame him 1 second. I will not be mad about that. I get it, and that's a huge risk. But if they do their due diligence and they feel like he's past that and everything's gravy, then man, I would love Mike Green. I'd love to trade back. I hope so bad they trade back, because we just have so much need. Ideally, you trade back to around 20 and Mike Green is still there. I don't know if he'll still be there at 20. He might be. We'll see. I think that's all I had for you. Mike Green, really good. 6'4", 248 pounds, 17 sacks last year at Marshall. The only thing that would stop him is, I guess, if the Sun Belt Conference truly was that bad and it was just the most fake 17 sack season you've ever seen. But man, he got to the Senior Bowl and he was destroying dudes. So it's hard to imagine him just flopping. You know what I'm saying? I think he's going to be fine. Maybe he's not a 17 sack guy, but crap, if I can get, first off, I need Nick to play 17 games and I need him to hit that 15 sack kind of mile mark again. That would be great, Nick. I know you want to also. And then you just have Mike Green, who's good for 10 to 12 sacks also. Let's go. Let's get this thing moving. And I think Mike Green's ceiling is even higher than that. So anyway, that's what I got for you. I'll keep doing these. I've got a few more guys off the top of my head that are not sleepers, but draft crushes I have for the 49ers. We're getting real close. It's getting there. Weather the storm, 49er fans. Let's see what happens with this dumb Brandon Ayuk stuff. Let's freaking get Brock Purdy signed and just kind of get this thing rolling and get to camp. Please, almighty, let's get to camp, all right? If you've made it to this end of this video and you're new here, please hit subscribe. Please like the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies. And that's all I got for you. No paper, but that's all right. Go Niners.